Koepke on the right versus Jay Beardsley. This is game 3. We'll go ahead and update you on the board, though. For Koepke, he has a Liliana the Last Hope on 5 and a Grim Flayer in play. For Beardsley, he has Brain in the Jar with 1 counter. Now, you may not actually know what Brain in the Jar does, which is fair. We'll get that on screen for you in a second.
Brain in a Jar was initially made popular by MTG Goldfish Saffron Olive. He likes to play these kind of wonky decks. So this was kind of a thing for a while. Haven't really seen it since Eldritch Moon.
So contrary to its flavor, Devin Koepke casts Pick the Brain, but does not pick Brain in the Jar. He picks Part the Water Veil instead, gets 2 copies out of Jay's hand.
Part the Water Veil is among the more important cards for this blue-white prison deck. The extra turns allow it to accrue more cards. Get things going that way, and not to mention the Awaken is one of the few ways that the deck can actually close a game.
Fumigate and second Brain in the Jar left in Jay Beardsley's hand. Let me see here. Looks like Anticipate as well. But he's got a Liliana up to 5, and for this mono blue deck, one of the issues with it is it has very few ways to answer a onboard planeswalker like Liliana.
Yep, that's always kind of been a weakness for this deck. Has to do something like cast a Rise from the Tides and start getting aggressive.
And here's Anticipate from Jay. You know, I don't know if Jay's going to win this match, but I want to give him just such mad props for this deck. You know the card Dramatic Reversal? I'm sure you're very familiar with it, right? The 2-mana instant from Kaladesh that untaps all your creatures.
Yeah.
So we're playing that because his finisher is Rise from the Tides, which makes an army of tapped zombies. This is great. All right, back over to Jay. He's going to draw. Play land number 5 there. He has the Prairie Stream mixed in with a stack of islands. I know you're thrilled about his basic land game going on.
Yeah, these mismatched islands are just perfect.
I like it when you have the regular ones hanging out next to the full arts.
It's really hard to find 18 of the same land, you know?
Grip of the Royal will tap Grimflayer before attacks. That is the Surge spell. It taps a creature. It does not untap, draw a card. So it's Crippling Chill if you don't Surge.
Interestingly, the Blue-White Prison deck has a little bit of game against Liliana Ultimate. You can start casting Engulf the Shores, reset the zombie count a number of times, maybe find a window where you can actually get a lethal Rise from the Tides in there.
Devin attempts to transgress Jay's mind, but that will be Void Shattered. Now Devin plays another Grimflayer. We're back to Jay Beardsley. You see he's just getting so much mana off this Brain in a Jar set to 3.
Once the Brain in the Jar gets going, it's kind of a messed up card.
It's like an Aether Vial for spells. But what's he going to do about this? Now there's an emblem in play for Devin. Liliana did resolve this game and got all the way up to the emblem. So an unending swarm of zombies will be on the battlefield. Jay does have 4 copies of Engulf the Shore. Without Part the Water Veil, though, this is going to be tough.
Yep, he needs to find a way to engulf away the zombies, find a window where he can just win in a short period of time by casting Rise from the Tides. And given the way that his mana is shaping up with the Brain still on 3, it doesn't look like that's going to be very likely.
So Devin tries to attack, but Jay has another Grip of the Royal for the second Grimflayer. So now both are tapped.
He does also have the Fumigate, which will clear the board, buy him some time. The life gain on that is not irrelevant.
Devin's going to activate Hissing Quagmire and chips in for 2. Jay down to 10. Yeah. Looks like an end step Anticipate will happen here from Jay. Devin's going to traverse. See what for. He's got Delirium.
Casting an Emrakul here might just be lights out. You can run Jay out of a lot of stuff with that. Another part about the text line on Brain in the Jar is you can spend all of those counters to just scry.
You have to use mana to do that, is that right?
Well, you do have to use mana, but Koepke doesn't really care about that. He can empty the Brain, or empty the Jar rather, and then just leave some bad cards on top of Jay's deck.
So Devin got Emrakul the Promised End. His Delirium count is 6 right now. So he's looking at 11. 1 land drop won't do it, but 2 will.
And given that the Liliana emblem will continue to apply pressure for free, he'll have some time to find those lands, and if he's able to cast that Emrakul and get that going, that should close the game.
So Brain in the Jar ticks up to 4 and casts nothing. We're going to put that one on screen just one more time. So for 1 mana, it basically Aether Vials up 1, and then you can cast a free instant or sorcery. It looks like he's building it toward Fumigate. Now he can, because Fumigate's a sorcery, Brain in the Jar will let him cast Fumigate at instant speed, so he can wait till Devin's end step, where he's about to get a lot more zombies. And he's going to cast Pieces of the Puzzle. So looks at the top 5, gets up to 2 instants and sorceries. Engulf the Shore, Rise from the Tides. Both gotten here. Looks like he has another option. But both those cards seem excellent. Yeah, that's what he's going to take.
The Engulf is one of the tools he needs to buy time. That'll give him a little more on top of this Fumigate that he's setting up here. And the Rise from the Tides, that's how he can win this game.
Yeah, so that's the 6 mana sorcery. He gets a tapped zombie for every instant or sorcery in his graveyard. And you have to figure that's a large number. I don't have an exact count on it. We'll wait and what happens. We're looking at around 10, I think, at the moment. So Devin goes to attack, and Jay sneaks a Fumigate into play off that Brain in a Jar.
And waiting there was some potential that Devin might get aggressive and activate his Hissing Quagmire. Of course, Devin has seen the Fumigate. There's no way he's going to go for that.
So then he attacks in for 2 with his own Quagmire, and he's going to get 2 zombies on end step. But a challenge is going to be, I guess, Jay's zombies versus Devin's zombies.
Yeah, Jay really needs to close quickly with those zombies. Something in the range of 10 I don't think is going to be quite good enough. He really wants to be able to make enough to be lethal plus a little bit.
Devin traverses for another land and passes the turn. We go back to Jay Beardsley. He's got his work cut out for him. If he gets Emrakul'd, he's got to worry about his own Engulf the Shore getting cast here.
Yeah, Koepke could just
Right.
brain in the Rise from the Tide, cast the Engulf the Shore, and just clear that all up.
So this is great. Jay passes the turn. He's got enough mana for Engulf the Shore plus End Step Rise from the Tides off Brain in a Jar. I believe that is actually lethal. He lets Devin attack. He lets the Liliana trigger resolve. Then he engulfs the shores. Then he plays Rise from the Tides. That should be lethal.
Yeah, assuming he has at least 10 instants or sorceries, it looks promising.
This deck's great. And I mean, this is actually, outside of the fact that, you know, this is a brew and I'm into it, these kind of very linear strategies oftentimes are good against like if there's a big black-green deck in the format that's very strong, you know, doing something really weird like this oftentimes can be good against them.
Right. You know, a deck like Black-Green Delirium, it main decks a good amount of removal spells, which just don't matter here. Presumably the game that Devin won was game 2.
Devin casts Grapple with the Past, so now he's going to count his card types. And he has Planeswalker, Land, Artifact, Creature, Instant, Sorcery. So at least 6 card types. He's going to get back a land. I don't... You can get back land, but that's not enough to cast Emrakul. And I think he's dead.
You saw Jay there. He was doing a little math. You saw him gesturing. He's working this all out.
Yeah, he's got a question for the judge away from the table. That's why you saw him leave here for a second. And yeah, I think we're going to see Prison move to the 2-0 bracket.
Yeah, as long as he lets that emblem trigger resolve, gets in with the Engulf the Shore.
Right, he's got the Engulf the Shore and the End Step Rise from the Tides, and that should be enough.
I imagine that the question here is just about the timing of priority. Do I get priority again after this emblem trigger?
And this isn't what has been spectacular this game is the amount of mana that Brain in a Jar has produced for Jay Beardsley. It's just helping him all the way up the curve. So it looks like he's going to engulf a little early.
he might have more than enough zombies.
Yeah,
here,
now we're
though.
going to have to count. So he could have gotten all 4. He only got 2. It's a kind of weird rules situation as to what window. As long as there are 12, so we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, no.
This might still be
Jay.
good. This might still be good enough, though. Koepke's
Jay, what do we do?
Koepke's not really packing ways to sweep that many zombies. He does have 2 flaying tendrils in his sideboard.
This could have been game over. It still might be good enough, but
I think that Koepke's hand is Ishkana Emrakul. So this should still be good unless Koepke rips exactly flaying tendrils.
Well, there's a Void Shatter in Jay's hand, too.
Oh, then that won't even matter.
Okay, right. So this is probably fine.
Yeah, Koepke's deck, he's not up to anything like Kozilek's Return, so the Emrakul won't be able to kill this many zombies.
Yeah, this is 11. You see the judge going and getting him 11 tokens. Anticipate cast by Beardsley. Leaving up that Void Shatter. This should be good enough. Yeah, swings all 11.
Good attack.
Devin's just going to confirm count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right. All right, that's for 22. Devin's. I mean, he does get to untap and cast Emrakul. As we know, that's not going to be good enough.
Right,
So
because Jay gets to take an actual turn, even though he's at 12. Also, Jay, the Void Shatter, can just counter the body on that.
Devin blocks 2 of them, goes to 2. Back to Devin's turn. Draws. He's got the mana for Emrakul this turn. He's got 6 card types in graveyard and 8 lands, so he actually has some extra. Actually, 7 card types. He's got the full 7, it looks. We'll say 6. Here's Emrakul. He takes turn, and Jay has the Void Shatter.
Theoretically, Devin could produce an Engulf the Shores or a Fumigate here from Beardsley's deck.
Sure. So now he takes Jay Beardsley's turn. Void Shatter. Yeah, Engulf the Shores in Jay's hand. This is not over. And that misstep from Jay may end up costing him.
That would be a heck of a way to go out.
So Devin's going to have to cast. You see Crush of Tentacles and Engulf the Shore, both as available options. He's got to cast one of them here because the next turn is Jay's again, right?
Mm-hmm. And with Beardsley still on 5 lands, Devin can't both spend all the brain counters and cast Engulf the Shores. So pretty much all he gets to do here is cast Engulf.
I guess, yeah, he doesn't really have another option, does he?
Mm-hmm. And there's no activating the brain doesn't matter because 7 is already above the range of spells that Jay wants to cast. It's just another counter that he could use to scry.
So the shores will be engulfed. All the zombies are gone. Devin will give him a 7th counter. Now keep in mind, 30 seconds left in the round. That is correct. We go now to Jay's next turn. They do need to make sure that a draw doesn't happen here. Draws a basic land from Jay. Upkeep, he may have, I don't know. Well, I imagine we'll see him try to scry toward another Rise from the Tides. He's got Void Shatter still in his hand.
Mm-hmm. One more land, and he would be able to cast Brain in the Jar plus Surge the Crush of Tentacles, try to win the game that way.
A pass here. It's going to be, so this is turn 0. This is Devin's turn. He's going to cast, looks like, we got Mind Rack Demon. Void Shatter from Jay will exile it. And now I imagine we see a big scry from Beardsley. Devin attacks for 2, Beardsley down to 10.
He wants to leave a good number of counters on the Brain in the Jar. He does have, he only gets to scry for every counter he removes. So I likely wouldn't remove too many counters.
It's 2, yeah. If he hits Rise, he wants to be able to plus the Brain and then immediately play the Rise from the Tides, it looks like.
Right.
Well, if he has enough lands, he could have just scryed 7, right? And just cast Rise and hope that's Wolf.
So interesting interaction here. is he does still have the Crush of Tentacles, and if he's able to make an Octopus and find Engulf the Shores, he only has 6 islands in play. So it doesn't currently bounce the Octopus token, and he could find a way to make that lethal. He does have to worry about the Hissing Quagmire from Devin.
Casts
though.
a second Brain in the Jar, and then Surge's Crush of Tentacles. That bounces all the cards and makes an Octopus. But this is turn 1. It's not enough yet.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, there's no way to Surge Crush of Tentacles off Brain in the Jar, so the idea that Jay could end-step Crush, make the Octopus, and win, that's not actually possible.
Yeah, you need to be able to cast another spell.
Back to Devin Koepke, turn 2.
Oh, yeah, no, you can't just do it with Braden no matter what.
Right, because you
it's
can't
an alternative
surge.
cost.
Yeah. Can Koepke win, though? He's got turn 2. He'll have turn 4 available to him as well. He's going to make Ishkana Graph Widow. She brings 3 spiders along with her. Liliana gets him 2 more zombies. Turn 3 now is Jay's. Draws another island. I don't know if we're going to see a conclusion.
So
Maybe Devin can get enough damage in.
Yeah, what are Jay's left? He has 2 Brain in the Jar in his hand.
The land he drew, 2 Brain in the Jar.
Devin has an attack that, if the Ishkana is blocked, connects for 7, and the activation of Ishkana is lethal, assuming that
Oh,
Beardsley's
wow, you're
up
right.
to
If Beardsley
nothing.
has nothing, this is lethal, isn't it? We go back to Devin's turn. This is turn 4. He's got a line. He can't really play around anything, but if there is nothing, he's got it.
Yeah, just got to shove. The activation's lethal or it's not. There's no way for Beardsley to instant speed Fumigate now that the Brain in the Jar is gone.
So he swings the team, a block on the spider. Devin, activate Ishkana, drain for 4. That puts Jay to 6. And there's 7 power of unblocked creatures. Is that lethal? And that's going to be it. Devin Koepke, with the comeback here on turn 4, takes the game and wins the match.
And it all really just comes down to that timing on the Engulf the Shores, right?
I think so. Yeah, Jay ended up, he had this great sequence of an end of turn Engulf, then Rise from the Tides. He knocked Devin from 20 down to 2, but 2 wasn't 0, and Devin had the comeback.
Yeah, and Koepke also, he did have the Ishkana on the turn that he cast the Mind Rack Demon. I really like that he baited with the Demon. The Demon getting countered there was the best case scenario for Koepke because the Ishkana was